minutes,
we can, if we need a different space or if we need to extend, just I want to make sure that you get the information that you need. That you
Beautiful.
Thank you. Inform and empower the great people that you're working with. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. By the way, let me actually introduce myself. I'm sweating and
that's okay.
Rushing in here and flustered. It's oh my God, you probably think I'm so unprofessional right now.
Not at all. Not at all.
I think sometimes we just forget that we're still human beings. Yeah, I think it's important that everyone should know their status. Knowing your status is the first step to really kind of having that conversation. I think it's important we learn how to tackle stigma and get rid of it. I think it's such an extremely amazing thing that I get to do this every day and meet such great people and learn their story and share some of their story with the people that watch this every day. To remember to stay hopeful in victory.
Good morning, guys. Hi again. I am Dusty Lion. I'm going to spill my coffee on myself. I'm Dusty Lion, and I have some really special information that we're going to be talking about and sharing with you guys today. But before I go ahead and dive into all that great stuff, let me go ahead and give you a dab of that beautiful coffee. You already know I'm going for it. Bing! And wait, dab for you.
Absolutely. Should we share our mugs?
Yeah.
So what are you drinking out of today?
So this is your mug. Going to get the two of your favorite mugs that you told me, and this one has Black Lives Matter. You guys can see that.
And I'm drinking out of the mug that has the Shepherd Ferry images for the Women's March. So looks like we're drinking coffee in style.
Yes, we are. We're going in style for sure. So Eduardo, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself as well to us?
Sure.
To my audience.
So hello viewers. My name's Eduardo Alvarado, and I have the amazing privilege of serving as the HIV/AIDS Director for Illinois. So my title is Chief of the HIV/AIDS Section for Illinois Department of Public Health. So kind of a mouthful, but in short, I work with and oversee all of the resources and programs that support all of our HIV activities in the state.
I'm going to try to be cool and collected because guess what we're here today? We're here to talk about HIV. We're here to talk about awareness of HIV and also break the stigma with that. But our topic today is what we're going to be focusing on is the issue when it comes to homelessness. In regards to a specific program here in Illinois called HOPWA.
He needs some milk.
We are going to try and avoid all of the acronyms today because it gets to be overwhelming. So HOPWA is our housing services for people living with HIV and AIDS.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
He said it much better than I did because on my way here I was listening to they have a website where they have the hub and the HUD, and I was listening to some of the institutes that they were kind of presenting, different programs that they have, and you're not kidding, there's a lot of abbreviation. I was just oh my God, there's a lot.
There is, and I think in my 20 some years in the field, I think every day I learn a new one. So, yeah. But so HUD is a wonderful federal program, and it is our housing and urban development program that is run through our federal government, and they have dedicated resources for various priorities. So one of the most important priorities, at least for us here in Illinois, with respect to the work that I get to do, is the resources they carve out for individuals who are living with HIV or AIDS. So those come to us in the form of HOPWA dollars. So again, Housing for People with HIV and AIDS is a special program here in Illinois. We make sure that clients who are impacted by the disease, who may be struggling with temporary or permanent homelessness. And as we know, I think for a lot of individuals, being homeless is a spectrum. For some individuals, I think we assume for someone to be homeless, they are going to be without any resources at all. They're going to be perhaps on the street or in a shelter, but we know that a lack of stable housing can really look very different.
Yeah. So
for a lot of our clients, it can be a need to get into a contemporary or more supportive, sustainable place to live. We know that individuals who are securely and safely housed, they tend to do better in lots of aspects of their life. For those that relate to HIV, they tend to take their medications, they tend to be more compliant, go to doctor's visits, etc. And it's not just about making sure that everyone gets to their doctor's appointments, it's about making sure that people have the human dignity of a place to live, a place to call their own, and really improve their quality of life. So that's kind of the big tenet of HOPWA.
Yeah, and then I think it's a good point that you hit on is that you're having a stable home, because that kind of plays into a lot of things where you have access to treatment, access to getting to your doctor's appointment. Growing up, we weren't the richest family. We ended up moving to our first home or apartment outside of my grandmother's house. And we ended up living in a shelter because I think me and my family were living in a car for like maybe a couple of weeks. I'm not sure, I can't remember. And then we ended up going to a shelter, and then we ended up, after my mom kind of got a job and kind of got it grounded. Single mom, all the single moms out there, you're doing work, sis. But yeah, she really put in a lot of grind for us to have a place to stay and to remind us that, we could be far worse off than where we were at that point in time. But I kind of wanted to go back to HOPWA itself and kind of talk about the program in much more detail.
Sure, absolutely. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that through the conversation and the resources that we're able to share back and forth, that you have websites and documents that you can push out to all your tech savvy audiences.
Oh yeah, because I'm gonna throw all the fonts over there. Your guys gonna be seeing it up here. You're gonna be seeing it over there. You're gonna be seeing it in the description below as well.
And actually, thanks for sharing and being so honest about your own upbringing. I think what we bring to the table and how we connect to and serve other people just is part of our humanity, and I think it really speaks to the fact that you've got this incredible audience, that you're doing the tremendous work that you're doing.
Thank you.
You should be really proud.
I do, but I mean, it's all because I'm able to meet people like you and able to share the information for people who may not know about it.
So we take kind of a regional approach to how we do business in the state of Illinois, and so we have divided up the state. And then you'll see this great graphic when you send it out of what our state regional HIV plan looks like. Okay. But what we do is we identify and we empower agencies and champions out in the state who we give funding to support these services. So we have great examples. Let's look at Phoenix Center, for example.
Okay.
Phoenix Center, you're smiling.
Well, because I moved there for a bit, and I kind of got involved a little bit while I was there.
So shout out to our friends Jana and the wonderful people at Phoenix Center. But that's a prime example. So that is an agency that we are really proud to fund, that we provide resources to, that really go above and beyond to kind of meet the needs of their clients. And so again, we talked about homelessness being a spectrum, right? And one of the things that I think we're really concerned about is our youth, and the fact that with stigma and racism and discrimination and transphobia and all of the issues that keeps me up at night but also keeps me going every day, is how are we going to take care of our youth? I mean, we always say the youth are our future. Look at the last election. Look what we did. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm not you. Look what you did. Look what you did.
No, when you say we, I definitely think it's all of us. I think it's all of us.
Thank you. But we rallied, and we became empowered and emboldened, and we made change. We effected change. So with HOPWA, it really centers around your kind of clinical and case management experience. And so for someone who is either new to HIV, they're recently diagnosed, or perhaps they've been in and out of care, they've had competing priorities where, quite frankly, HIV maybe wasn't the top priority in their life. They were in school, or they were having a family, or they were dealing with addiction or mental health or lots of other issues. It's a safe place to get all of those priorities out on the table and to really start working with them. And so it often begins with a clinical appointment, and then engagement and linkage to a case management a person. So
there's a person that kind of like assists them through the process of once they become or found out that they're HIV positive, kind of learn the different resources that they are.
Absolutely. And one of the resources that we're able to offer our clients in Illinois is housing services, be them temporary or permanent. So if someone is living with HIV or AIDS, and regardless of their kind of race or background or who they choose to love or how they choose to love, it doesn't matter. It's for individuals who are living with HIV or AIDS. We can get them into those services and ensure that they have the human dignity of a place to call home.
Assisting them with maybe a rent or a living situation. Kind of what does that look like? Does it follow the tenant, or do we provide a unit in a sense?
Sure. And so that's a great question, Dion, and you did your homework. So there's a lot of kind of short or long-term rental programs, and so there could be kind of assistance to help with part of rent or part of a mortgage. There could be a more structured place that is a housing unit, for example, that has lots of different dwellings inside that, you know, if someone wants that type of living experience, that's something they could, you know, propose to go into. And often we have opportunities to really place clients, especially if they are in a relationship or have families, through kind of scattered housing sites that we have throughout the state. Another shout out to our good friends at Chicago House. So hello, Scott and team. You know, they are the perfect example of an entity that receives various federal dollars for housing. And they've been able to identify really creative ways, especially in a market like Chicago, which we know is not cheap, right? But they've found really creative ways, really thoughtful ways to find great housing for clients. And so, you know, whether you're an individual and you live alone, or you're in a relationship, or you are maybe a parent and you're living with HIV, you know, there's programs that we can connect you to make sure that everyone who, again, is impacted by this disease has a place to call home. So it really varies. There are, again, permanent structures, there's short-term or long-term, or there's, you know, rental assistance for a client who can't meet the living expenses in rent or mortgage of their current dwelling, their current place. So that's also an option as well.
Awesome. And I'm going to be kind of diving to different topics under this umbrella, of course, but please stop me if I'm like too over there or too over there. But I do want to like talk about, as far as Chicago isn't cheap to live here, but if you go like downstate, you know, it's cheaper. So how is like the state kind of funding different programs? Is it kind of based on the environment?
Sure. So absolutely. So again, we take a regional approach, but we look at data. Everything that we do is data driven. We believe in science. We believe in data. We believe that, you know, the HIV numbers that we look at every year. So we have surveillance programs that capture any client who has been tested and linked to care, and we monitor those clients. We make sure that they're getting the right services, and housing is one of those. So we would identify what the needs are of the client. So if we have a client who is living downstate and they're experiencing some level of homelessness, it doesn't make sense to get them a shelter in North Illinois or Chicago. I want them to have a place to call home that is close to school, or close to their friends, or close to work, or close to their community. Absolutely. That's critically important. So our goal is not to displace individuals. We want people to still have that same sense of community, and we want it to be seamless, and we want it to be stigma-free. So, you know, our facilities don't, they're not advertised as being low income, or, you know, for individuals who might be getting federal assistance. They look like any other kind of rental facility that one could come across in the state.
And this is separate from low-income housing, correct?
So that's, you know, so HUD being the parent, the federal parent, does operate with low-income housing. And so that's obviously part of how they provide opportunities within the HOPWA program. Awesome. But because we create those programs within our section here, we're able to provide rental assistance, for example, again, for those individuals who may want to stay in their own residence.
What are the for lack of better words, categories within the data that kind of dictate where the funding goes most?
Sure, that's a great question. So a lot of our data is analyzed through the lens of priority groups. So we look at who's being impacted by the epidemic mostly. And it's 2019, and I would love to say that we're making a dent in HIV, in reducing HIV infections across the board, but we're not.
You are!
The numbers are tapering, we're plateauing.
Progress, a little bit.
A little bit of progress. You know, a lot of progress, let's be honest. You know, you can be diagnosed today and you can live the rest of your life healthy, happy, sane. But it takes some work. And one of the groups, or a couple of the groups that we are still concerned with, and I'm just going to be honest, is, you know, my Latino brothers and sisters. You know, we haven't found the equity that we need within our respective numbers. We still see the numbers, you know, significantly higher than we'd like. The same thing for African Americans. You know, your brothers and sisters, we're still seeing that HIV disproportionately impacts communities of color. When we look at young gay men, primarily Latino and African American men, they're the ones still being infected at the highest rates in the state, in the city, nationwide. So we take a priority focused lens to kind of how we allocate our resources. we have a really unique opportunity here in Illinois that is a statewide HIV planning body.
Okay.
So it's made up of members of the community. It's called IHPSI for short. Send you more information on that.
Awesome.
But it's a way that the state can bring together stakeholders and community advocates and agencies who are doing HIV work to sit around and say, what are your priorities? What are the priorities in your area? And there are some conversations we have that focus on opioids or harm reduction or things that, you know, aren't necessarily priorities for everyone in the state, but it's important for that region. So we're able to focus and drill down and make sure that the unique needs of that respective community or zip code or region is being met.
We kind of talked about a little bit as far as like homeless affecting different realms of it, but can we kind of go into more detailed perspectives on those?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question, Dion. So some of the services that I think are some of the unsung heroes in a lot of the work that gets done by our great partners out in the state are things like workforce development. So we have employment skills building that can happen as part of clients taking advantage of any of our programs, but in particular the housing programs, and getting them to kind of identify what their passions are, their interests, and connecting them to a workforce that gives them what they want. Because a lot of individuals want to contribute. They want to be part of that workforce. They want to be part of society. And so this, they want to be, of course, they're part of society. They want to become, you know, part of that society that you know, they're striving to be, whether it's professionally, intellectually, or what have you. And this is an opportunity for them to do that. And so when they have stable housing, they're connected to kind of employment assistance, they're connected to workforce development, skills building, trainings, etc. So that really helps empower our individuals to be able to be, you know, custodians of their health and make informed choices. We can focus in on HIV prevention. We can focus in on you know, living with HIV and what that means to your partners. You know, we live in a day and age where we know that women can have healthy pregnancies. They can be HIV positive in healthy pregnancies. We can make sure that they deliver, you know, as healthy as possible and prevent HIV transmission to their babies. And so we really can take a family approach to how we help families and individuals who are impacted by HIV.
And I'm going to be honest, like that was my fear when I first found out that I was HIV positive. I'm like, okay, now I can't have kids.
Actually, why don't we talk about U equals U? Because let's actually talk about undetectable equals untransmittable for a second. That is a really big part of what we do here in the state. We signed on very early, and it's something that we champion. So to all of our great, you know, listeners out there and viewers, U equals U was created in the last couple of years, and it really follows science. Again, it follows clinical research that shows and documents and proves that there is virtually no risk of transmitting your HIV virus to a sexual or drug-using partner if you are HIV positive, in care, on HIV medications, and have an undetectable viral load, which means that, you know, you've met a certain threshold within your laboratory values and your viral load is perhaps less than 20 or less than 50 copies. So at that point, all the studies have shown, or the majority of studies have shown, that it is unlikely that you'll pass your HIV on to a partner. So much so that CDC is on board with it. Our wonderful friends at NIH are on board with it, and these are Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and National Institutes of Health, kind of the two big parents that provide a lot of the research and dollars for the work that we do. So given their blessing, given the advocates' blessing, I mean, we live in a great time where if you're HIV positive, if you're on medications, if you're undetectable, have your child. You're not going to pass it on to your baby. Have your family. Have the little Deons running around. You know?
Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy. But we got to share that happiness, and we've got to open that door and pull our friends back through, because there's a lot of individuals who either don't know that information or are still too afraid to go get a test, or still struggling with their own sexual identity.
Talk about that. Let's talk about
Absolutely. Oh my God, Getting to Zero is our baby here, and it's really exciting and something that I'm so incredibly proud of as one of many kind of voices in it. So Getting to Zero, first and foremost, is Illinois' response to ending HIV. And it doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to the city, it doesn't belong to our advocates, it belongs to everyone in the state, which is an incredible opportunity. So a couple years ago, I got together with some of our friends at AIDS Foundation of Chicago and Chicago Department of Public Health and a lot of our other allies, and we started talking about how do we get Illinois on board to end HIV. Mm-hmm. So we brought in our data experts and our prevention experts and our treatment and care experts to say, okay, this is what we need to do to reach that goal. And so we have a plan now. We have a draft plan, which I want you to share with your audience. And basically, it's pretty simple. It's going to take a lot of work, but it's simple in theory. So roll with me here. By 2030, for the state of Illinois to invest and make sure that we are doing two things, we will reduce the HIV incidence in Illinois to the point where the epidemic can no longer sustain itself. So we will meet what is called functional zero, which is less than 100 new cases of HIV every year. Okay, so what two things do we need to achieve that? Well, there's a lot that goes into this, but the two main focuses are, A, if you are living with HIV, that you be in care, on treatment, and undetectable, so that you can have the healthiest life possible, you can have a great quality of life, you won't transmit your virus, again, you equals you. The second part of that is prevention. So not only are there prevention aspects for someone who's living with HIV or AIDS, but for someone who may be at risk for HIV, that we connect them to the right prevention tool for them. And we'll be pushing PrEP, which is 1 pill once a day, to prevent HIV infection. I'm sure you'll do a whole segment on that. Maybe you'll invite us back.
Yes.
But we know that by doing those two things, we will reduce the risk of, we will reduce the infections by 2030. So a lot of work has to go into this. Again, we've been working for 2 years, and that's been really involved, to bring in as many voices throughout Illinois as possible. So we had town halls and focus groups throughout the entire state to really connect with clients and hear, what do you need from an ending the epidemic strategy? We brought in perspectives of individuals who had spent time in correctional facilities, or individuals who had experienced homelessness, individuals struggling with mental illness and addiction, and all types of life journeys. And we made sure that we built those into the plan. Housing is an incredible part of that, and we can definitely make those resources available if you're curious about how the priorities for housing will look. But basically, we're on set now, and we're on board to kind of meet this target by 2030. I will also say that a couple Fridays ago, we had the honor and privilege of working with Governor Pritzker on a declaration for HIV in the state of Illinois. He referenced and really, was excited about getting to zero and offered his support. And we've seen that come to fruition. So we're really excited about this.
This is important. We need to drive this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what can we do? What can you do? What can I do? We all have a role in this. Everyone has a role in this. And I think advocacy and knowing your status, and if you're out of care, no shame, come back in, the door's always open. If you are wanting to do something to protect yourself and prevent HIV, come talk to us about PrEP. One of the exciting things that I'll tell you about our opportunities here in the state is we are fortunate to run PrEP for Illinois. Again, we'll send the highlight and the website, but there is no reason why anyone in the state of Illinois who wants PrEP will be denied. We will cover the cost free of charge, and if there's private insurance, we'll connect the services to that. If someone doesn't have insurance at all, or enough insurance, because that's a big deal too, then we'll cover the cost. If someone has insurance, we bill their insurance. If someone is without insurance, we cover the cost. Period, end of story. It's as simple as that.
Similar to ADAP?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's all run through the ADAP process, which is fortunate because we have taken our wonderful champions who are used to connecting to clients and getting them enrolled in ADAP every year. You might know something a little bit about that.
I know all about it.
So those wonderful...
I got to re-enroll mine actually the next couple of weeks. I just got the envelope.
I'm going to be on you for that. So the wonderful staff that you have worked with on that process are also helping our HIV negative brothers and sisters to make sure that they can navigate the PrEP program, that they get connected. And the one thing I want to, again, is reiterate for our sisters, this is incredibly important, not just for us as gay men, but as, for anyone in Illinois, regardless of their risk, if this is the prevention tool that they choose. It's safe for women, it's safe for women of childbearing age, so it's something that we are looking to expand within our our reproductive health programs, and really empower women of reproductive age to use this as a prevention tool as well.
It sounds like we're taking an approach from people who are HIV positive and kind of making sure that we make sure that they're stable and they're protected, because that's where we can really hit the ground the hardest. But someone who may be negative, how do they get involved? Should they go to a town meeting? Is there an event coming up from Chicago?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll make sure that we share the Getting to Zero website with everyone in your audience. We do have an ongoing process for people to contribute any vision or comments or feedback. They're always welcome to join any of our meetings. We probably will go back and do additional town halls as we release the final plan, but that's what we're working on now. So that big document there is the draft plan.
Great audience.
So this is the draft plan. You can see it online, but basically, forgive the tabs, but these are just kind of for my illumination. I mean, it covers pillars from transportation to housing to stigma and discrimination, and what we're going to do for individuals to promote getting to zero, whether you're HIV negative, whether you're positive. We talk about everything under the sun in here, and we're committed to making it happen. So, this is what we're doing, and we're going to get to zero by 2030.
Let's go, guys, and we need your help.
Absolutely.
It starts with all of us. I remember I went down to Springfield, this might have been last year, and they actually had like different table settings where you kind of went over the draft before they kind of compiled it, I believe. And I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And then there were just all these different types of ideas people were submitting. I'm like, how are people coming up with this stuff? This is amazing. Like,
there's a lot of beauty out there. There's a lot of expertise, and mostly there's a lot of passion around HIV. We live in a day where, fortunately, we're not seeing the number of deaths that we used to, but people still die from HIV and AIDS every month, every year.
And for a complication,
Absolutely, and stigma and discrimination and people not feeling comfortable enough or confident enough or safe enough to come forward and get tested or follow up on a positive diagnosis. And there's so many reasons for that we're trying to address and get to the root of, and really ensure that everyone has that fair and open door to care and prevention. And as long as I'm in this role, it's what keeps me up at night.
We're gonna keep bugging to work. I'm like, hey, Eduardo, I got this. I have this topic. I need the information, dog.
Absolutely. We got to pass the baton at some point. And I'm old. I've been in this game for a long time, and so I'm looking forward to the new voices, the new leadership. So
I'm so thankful for you allowing me to have this amount of your time and coming up here and talking with my audience and me about this great topic, about talking about homelessness, HOPWA, getting to zero, PrEP, all those great things. But is there anything you wanted to share with my audience before we say goodbye?
I think you really have curated this incredible voice that is important. And I want you to know that what you've done here and what you're doing is what's going to get us to zero. It's going to help us achieve that goal, because you are giving your heart and soul to this. You are using your own status, your own life journey to help illuminate that path for other people, and you're kind of helping pull people through that door. And so, as a thank you and a shout out to you, I think what you're doing is incredibly valuable, and I'm really honored to meet you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
My pleasure.
Wonderful.
So.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Again, I'm Dusty Lion, and this is
Eduardo Alvarado. So thank you guys so much, and look forward to sharing more stories in the future.
And as always, you guys stay hopeful in victory. And remember, if we're wanting to break HIV stigma, that starts with one conversation at a time. So do subscribe and share my video, and also follow the great resources that we're going to be sharing here in this video as well. You guys have a great day. Bye.
Peace.